Around 2.3 billion people globally lack access to modern and sustainable cooking equipment. 900 million of these people live in sub-Saharan Africa. This is a global challenge causing health problems from indoor air pollutions, deforestation, and greenhouse gas emissions. The Modern Cooking Facility for Africa increases access to clean cooking solutions in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Kenya, Malawi, Mozambique, Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Our goal is to enable access to higher-tier cooking solutions for up to 4 million people by the end of 2027.
The Modern Cooking Facility for Africa is a program focusing only on higher-tier cooking solutions. The program supports a broad range of cooking technologies as the facility manager, Nefco, the Nordic Green Bank, strives for impact. The Modern Cooking Facility for Africa uses results-based financing to incentivize companies to scale up their clean cooking solutions. This way, they are committed to reach agreed milestones and make a real impact in the local communities.
The Modern Cooking Facility for Africa increases access to affordable and clean energy. The program also supports gender equality and new employment opportunities in the project countries.
The Modern Cooking Facility for Africa is a co-created program between Sweden and Nefco. It supports companies to scale up and reach underserved populations. We envision that our support will catalyze market development of a similar scale that's been seen in the off-grid electricity sector in the last decade. We're excited about the program and are looking forward to seeing the impacts on the ground.
Visit moderncooking.africa and learn more about our program and the impact of clean cooking solutions. moderncooking.africa.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our COP28 event entitled Next Generation Clean Cooking Solutions. And we're very pleased to be here at the COP to invite you all to join us in the conversation that we're going to have, particularly in relation to the instrument that we've been working with for a couple of years now, the Modern Cooking Facility for Africa. So first of all, I'd like to ask our keynote speaker, Mr. Fredrik Pharo from the Norwegian Ministry, to come to the stage and to make some opening comments. Per, please. Three minutes, it's fine.
All right. Well, sorry, I was told not to push any buttons, so I'll try not to do that. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for being here, and thank you for hosting us and arranging this from the Nefco side. It's couldn't be a more important issue, really. I'm always sort of amazed by these, the facts of the numbers in this space, how many people actually lack access to clean cooking solutions. I think sub-Saharan Africa is the only part of the world where clean cooking, yeah, that's better, sorry, thank you, where clean cooking access has not kept pace with population growth. So the number of people without access to clean cooking have actually increased over the last few years. And we all know indoor air pollution from open fire cooking solutions is a major cause of respiratory disease. And I find this number, it's almost unbelievable, but it's from the World Bank, so it has to be true. The lack of access of modern energy for cooking costs the world more than $2 trillion annually, mainly health related, but also climate costs and so on, but it's mainly health. And when you contrast that with the fact that achieving universal access to clean cooking should only cost us about $4 billion a year, we are probably talking one of the best, if not the best, buys of development overall. It would be a bargain. Of course, we have a lot of those in development, but these numbers are incredible. use of wood charcoal in inefficient traditional stoves is a major driver of deforestation and greenhouse gas emissions. I used to run the Norwegian Climate and Forest Initiative, and I've seen this firsthand in so many parts of the world, in sub-Saharan Africa in particular. There's double damage, both for those using and accessing this form of cooking and to nature and our climate. Traditional cooking methods also drives gender inequality and is a barrier for education, as women and girls spend up to 5 hours daily just searching for and collecting firewood. Achieving SDG 7 on access to sustainable energy for all by 2030 requires new and innovative solutions to this challenge. And this is why Norad decided to sign our support for Nefco's modern cooking facility for Africa. We're allocating 200 million Norwegian kroners for the 5-year period 2023 to 2027. And absolutely delighted to do that. It's, of course, not 4 billion, but it's a contribution. And we're really happy that we got to this point. We consider MCFA as highly relevant and additional for both Norway's development assistance with the energy sector and for the population in the eligible countries in sub-Saharan Africa. We are delighted that our support will be put to immediate work, given the urgency of this, releasing funding to 4 projects on the reserve list from the first call window, as I understand it. So no delays, and trigger funding opportunities for project in Malawi in the next call, in addition to the existing list of eligible countries. Again, the challenges that the MCFA was designed to address could not be more important. We are proud to support this effort. Thank you, and I'm really looking forward to the discussions here, and not least to watch this program being implemented. Thank you all for coming.
Okay, thank you so much. So just to reiterate, thank you so much for your contribution. Norway has pledged 200 million Norwegian crowns, that's around 18 million euros, and that will allow us to deliver yet more development outcomes through our modern cooking facility for Africa. And we're very pleased, particularly as Norway is one of the owners of Nefco, that you're joining Sida, our colleagues from Sweden, and the European Union in this joint endeavor. So thank you so much. It'll go a long way. Thank you. Okay, so we have a great panel. I can see 2 of the panelists are here. So maybe Sophie and Donee will join the stage. I'm also hopeful that the Director General of Sida will be here. But I guess he's being caught up in other things. So, but we have a great panel here, and hopefully Jakob can join when he's available. So just to introduce the ladies on the stage, first of all, Sophie Odupoy, you're the Head of Government Relations at KOKO Networks. You can tell us more about your organization in your words. And Donee Alexander, you're the Chief Science Officer at the Clean Cooking Alliance. We're very pleased to have these great speakers here, real practitioners in this field. And particularly in regard to the Clean Cooking Alliance, we have an ongoing friendship. We're working together on a number of issues, including carbon finance. And carbon finance is something that will come up a few times in our conversation today. So, first of all, Sophie, maybe if you could just give us, from your perspective, you work for a bioethanol company in Kenya. You've been very successful, and you work with government relations. Now, what do you think, in your experience, is needed from governments in order to move things forward in the clean cooking space?
Thank you so much, Ash. Good evening, everyone. As you said, I'm from KOKO Networks, a climate tech company that is disrupting the clean cooking space. We are using technology and carbon financing to be able to transition households from use of biomass to use of bioethanol, a clean and renewable energy. Now, coming to address your question, we've had, almost 9 years in Kenya, and we truly cannot say that government understands what we do. So one of the challenges you face when you have an innovative solution is the fact that it takes years before you can actually get government to understand what it is you're pitching. Now for us, we went and we are talking about this business model. At the beginning, we were pitching. Yeah, we were showing them from PowerPoint, this is what we are planning to do, and they're like, what is this? It looks like a dream. We don't believe you'll ever be able to do this. Please get out of our offices, so you leave. Yeah, and then you do your version 1, version 2, version 3. You keep inviting them, and they keep coming and saying, how many households do you have? You're like, not yet. We are still doing R&D. So there's always the challenge as you're developing to get them to understand and to walk the journey with you. The only point at which government has become a key partner is once we launched and once we started hitting like hundreds of thousands of households. Now we are at 1.2 million households. We are adding 10,000 households a month. We've been awarded. We have over 1,000 employees. We've been awarded as one of the leading taxpayers. So unfortunately, you need to get to be significant enough for government to pay attention to you. It's not ideal, yeah, and we've repeatedly told them as we walk those corridors that government needs to provide enabling policy and then let private sector do what it is we want to do. Our mission is to enable them meet their targets. Now, for government to not enable and serve almost as a hindrance, yeah, means that you will take twice as long or even longer before you're actually able to provide your solution. As you said, these numbers are growing by the day, the people who don't have access. 2030 is around the corner. Yeah, so we are talking not only to Kenya, we are talking to multiple governments across Africa, across Asia. We're also looking at Latin America. We have over 300 million households who need this solution. So for us, it is first open the door, listen to us, yeah, see what we have done in other countries, and then accelerate the provision of whatever it is we are seeking to be able to set up our solution. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very interesting. I think that I'm not sure we have many representatives of governments here, but I think it's a very interesting approach. Just to say that the Modern Cooking Facility for Africa supports private sector companies. So we work with enterprises. We believe that they are the ones that can have the technology and the type of technology that you've deployed. But I'd like to talk more about that. In terms of your product, your technologies, it's bioethanol. Bioethanol had a bit of a tough time in Africa. How have you made it work?
I think the challenge with bioethanol has always been how do you deliver it affordably to the households? And I think it's not anything new. The companies that are doing this, that the challenge is they are bottling the bioethanol. So bottling it in single-use bottles, and we know what that entails. You have to pay for the price of the bottle. So household affordability then becomes a problem. So our use of technology meant that we have developed, we've borrowed a concept that has been used very well in India, which is milk ATMs. So we've developed ATMs, and these are in-house. We've developed them in-house, and they dispense the ethanol. So that way, the household gets to buy the cooker kit, which is a 2-burner cooker, with a reusable canister, which is about 2.3 liters, just enough for the household to be able to buy depending on the amount of money they have. And we're able to install these ATMs, which we call KOKO points, close to where our consumers live. So we put them in shops, so the shopkeepers have to have a pre-existing business. So if they have space, we install the KOKO point. The only amount of money they're required to pay to sign on as an agent is about $150. We then give them the cookers and the fuel on consignment. So when you think about the very few businesses where you're actually given the tools on consignment, and then through their own effort, they're able to, because they have a trust relation with a lot of the households, they're able to actually convince them to transition to this solution. It needs a bit of convincing because it's not as simple as the way you light LPG or the way they're used to lighting using charcoal or using firewood. So it requires some convincing and some training repeatedly. And that's why it's important for us that they establish that relation with the agent, so if they have questions, they're able to ask. So that is how we're able to use technology. We've partnered on the upstream with someone who understands liquid fuel logistics. So rather than reinvent the wheel, we partnered with an oil marketing company. In this case, we've partnered with Vivo. So they buy and transport the ethanol for us to petrol stations from where we pick them and then do the last mile delivery. So along the whole chain, we use technology. We monitor the fuel using technology. We've developed software ourselves. Everything is connected to the KOKO cloud. Everything is monitored on the cloud. So that means then we need a lot of engineers. So we have both software and hardware engineers, as I said, amongst the 1,000. That's technology. Carbon financing comes in because now we're a clean and renewable fuel, zero carbon emissions. We are actually able to get high quality carbon credits. We are able to sell them in the voluntary market, but more importantly in the compliance market, where we get good pricing. We've done one sale. We are hoping as the regulations come into place that we will have more deals with increasingly more countries, and we pass on all this revenue that we raise to be able to subsidize the cooker. Like the cooker is $10, it's a one-off cost. The fuel is retailing at 50 US cents a liter. And again, that is subsidized. We would want to subsidize it even further, because if we are to venture into the rural areas where the income is even much lower, we need lower price points. That is why it's important for us. Another aspect when we are talking about government needs to partner with us for the compliance market. Without government, without them giving us the relevant documentation, we will not, or even signing the government-to-government deals. There are very many interested countries. We need them to come to the table for us to be able to get those high prices, to be able to further subsidize our hardware and our ethanol. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a great answer. I think that you've highlighted that it's more than just technology. We need to move beyond just having all the tech in place. I mean, you've done a great job with that. But you're affecting behavioral change as well. You're working with communities, and I think that's really, really important as well. I think you also mentioned the sort of power of partnerships. Working with others in the logistics chain and so forth. So, all very, very helpful. And also another point I'd like to highlight when we talk about carbon finance is your approach towards using it to buy down the costs and to try and address that affordability gap. So I think you've done an amazing job, and if you're ever in Kenya, I'm sure you'll see KOKO networks in action. So, and if you don't, you should make it so. Okay, just one final thing on carbon, Sophie. I think, as many of us know, carbon finance is a game changer in the clean cooking space. Excuse me. I'm just wondering, there's been a lot of headwinds recently around carbon and the integrity and the transparency of some of these standards. I don't know if you want to comment from your perspective what your views are in terms of how we can address some of these issues.
Okay. One of the ways that we use technology to address this is the fact that when a customer buys the cooker kit, the canister has an NFC chip. So that NFC chip gets connected to a customer's mobile number, and they create an account on the KOKO cloud, and they're able to fund that account using mobile money. So we are actually able to monitor their transactions. So for us, it's not only about them buying the cooker, we're actually able to show how frequently they use it. That makes the audit process a lot easier. It's not only that we are going and we are showing you the customers, this 1.2 million customers who bought, you're actually able to see how they've been buying, the frequency, the amounts. All this information is available. And I think, as you said, rightfully said, that is a game changer. The fact that it is not just numbers, it is actually people. And more importantly, we always say when you come and visit us, we want people to go and talk to customers, literally talk to people who've transitioned, people who have gone through cooking with charcoal, cooking with firewood, and have seen that change. The fact that now you can cook indoors without smoke in your face. Your children can be in the house and you don't fear. There are no issues around safety. Our system is closed loop. You can't actually access the ethanol. So we've addressed all the concerns that would arise. And that's why we always say, please come and visit us. Come and actually see it in action. Yeah, it is not enough for you to look at videos. It is not enough for you to look at our PowerPoints. Come and see what is happening. We always encourage governments also to come and see us and interrogate our operations and our financial books. That transparency is what is enabling us make headway with a lot of governments and also with entities such as yourselves and potential carbon buyers. We are an open book, yeah, because what we are doing is we're very, very clear. We are focused on low-income households. You will not see us where LPG is. We're not willing to play in that segment at all. We are very clear that we need to transition people from charcoal and firewood, and we're not willing to deviate from that. So you will find us 100% in low-income areas. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. I think that leads us nicely to you, Donee. Sorry. Yeah. So working at the Clean Cooking Alliance, what opportunities have you seen in terms of how carbon finance potential can be unlocked for the clean cooking ecosystem, and particularly in regard of some of the higher tier applications that we're trying to work with in the modern cooking facility for Africa? Please.
Thank you, Ash, and thank you for inviting me to be on this panel. I think I'll start out a little bit with just talking about the Clean Cooking Alliance because
Please, yeah.
just to set us up, we support the entire ecosystem. We're the only actor that in the ecosystem whose job is to think about clean cooking every single day. And one of the things that we see as a really important part of scaling clean cooking across Africa and Asia and the world is carbon. We see that as essential. And so what we've seen with a lot of the companies and enterprises who are going to scale is that they've utilized carbon to lower their price point, just as Sophie just described what is happening in KOKO, so that poor families can afford clean cooking. It lowers that price. It also allows enterprises to innovate. If they're able to have carbon that lowers the price, that they can focus on utilizing their capital to innovate so that they're reaching more customers, that they're finding ways to move into new markets. So we see it as essential for scale up into the future.
Okay, thank you.
Apparently you weren't.
Very subtly done, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone noticed. Okay. Yeah, so in terms of carbon finance, I know the Clean Cooking Alliance has been working on a very exciting new initiative. I don't know if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, are you talking about Foresee? Are you talking about the methodology? What initiative?
Well, tell us about both.
Okay. Yeah, with UNFCCC, the US EPA, Stockholm Environment Institute, the Climate and the Clean Air and Climate Coalition. There's consortiums and coalitions all over the place. We saw a need to really work originally with governments, was the original impetus, to help them first put clean cooking into their NDCs, but then set baselines and track against those. This was called the Clean Cooking and Climate Consortium. So we came together and started that. We then very quickly pivoted and saw a need, in addition to supporting country governments on this process, helping them set up NDC trackers, helping them understand what their baseline and trajectories can be within a country. We saw that a key point was the carbon market, that it had so much potential, but that there were issues that currently existed, that we needed to take the current data, take where we were with digital monitoring and verification, and come up to speed with where we should be. And that happens everywhere in science. You'll see it everywhere, where you have, as an example, we had cars that when we realized, when the technology came along, we put in catalytic converters, and so they became cleaner. That is what we are doing now with the carbon market and clean cooking. We are now putting a catalytic converter into it to make it operate more efficiently and better. So we're utilizing the methodologies that were in place. We reached out to over 250 stakeholders and brought them along the journey saying, what is not working with these methodologies? What data needs to be updated? What monitoring needs to be updated? And we've gone through the process very carefully and closely with UNFCCC so that we know that they will adopt it and that it would be approved. Same thing with Gold Standard and Verra. We all have to be on the same playing field to bring in that integrity, to bring in the confidence that we have has really been lacking over the last year or two. And I think a buyer wants to know that if they go to Verra or Gold Standard for the same program, they're going to buy the same emissions reductions, or if they go through UNFCCC. So that is what we've been doing over the last year to ensure that as we are going forward, we are at the front of the game and that we are delivering on our promises in the carbon market.
Great, no, thank you. And I think you've done some wonderful work in terms of your convening power of the Alliance to support these initiatives. And if you're working in this market, of course, everyone will probably have downloaded and read some of these reports, but I think they've been very, very helpful just to bring people together. And I wanted to to explore a bit further on that. In regard of the sort of stakeholders that need to come together more broadly, how can they bring about the change that we need in this sector beyond carbon?
Yeah, well, let's start with carbon first because I think it's important, right?
Please, yeah.
So if you have project developers who are not comfortable with the methodologies, or if you have buyers who do not want to use them, a methodology is just a methodology unless it's used. So you have to bring the ratings agencies, the country governments, the corporate buyers, the project developers, and the data, all the scientists, all to the same place. And so that is what is the power of the Clean Cooking Alliance, is bringing these conveners together, convening these parties, and bringing everybody along on this journey, whether it be developing a methodology, developing a standard, or anything, so that we can all move together. Because if we're not all moving cohesively and on the same page, then that's when there are factions and things start to, break apart. So yeah, I'll use that as an example about how we're moving that forward.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I should introduce our next guest. I guess this is not rehearsed, by the way, but but Monica Gullberg, you're from Sida. Are you stepping in for Jakob? Yes, you are. Okay. So you're stepping in for Jakob Granit, who's the Director General of Sida. So it's a shame he's not here, but we're very happy to have you here, Monica. I wanted just to talk to you really about, to thank Sida for the support that you've provided in regard of the Modern Cooking Facility for Africa. The instrument is actually a co-creation between Sida and Nefco, so we've really appreciated that opportunity to work together in partnership. But I wanted just to understand a bit more, maybe you could explain a bit more the sort of background of why Sida as a development organization wanted to work more closely in this space, and particularly in regard to these higher tier solutions. We know there's a lot of improved cook stove initiatives out there, which make a lot of difference in terms of avoiding deforestation and other benefits. But why were you compelled to work with some of these higher tier applications? Monica.
Thank you, Ash. And I'm sorry if I'm giving a different answer than Jakob would have, maybe, but I'm the Senior Energy Policy Specialist at Sida, so I have some insights. We think that it's very important that you bring the cooking into the energy sector agenda, not a separate issue, but a part of the energy sector agenda, and delivers system solutions that can be viable, just like you deliver system solutions within electrification. So I don't know what people said before me, but we say if you can twin it with electrification agenda, that's super. I would add basically also add it to the housing agenda and bring it in as a part of the facility, the housing facility, the school and household cooking arenas, so that it becomes also an issue for the house planners, architects, designers to develop kitchens and cooking facilities that work and are efficient and cost efficient, and that can maybe be better than not having them or having poor solutions.
Okay, thank you. I mean, as I said, we worked on this together, and some of the key drivers we talked about at that time were obviously the need for digitization. Very interested to learn about what Sida is doing in other spheres in relation to digitization in Africa.
Well, thank you. I think everyone is working on digitization nowadays, but we certainly bring it into the energy access agenda and the access to information, but also the early warning systems has been one of the key messages from our end for digitalization. I think in this context, the beauty of digitalization is optimization of the system, but also financing of the system, and the possibility actually to have quite straightforward business agreements where you can, like you do in the off-grid electricity market, you can have conditions on payments, and you can have ownership. I mean, you can offer it as a service. You don't have to sell the product as such. So I guess that's what you do also in your businesses. But generally on the digitalization agenda, it comes with democracy, human rights, early warning, transparency, corruption. So there's a very broad reason for bringing digitalization into development aid.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think there's a long way to go on this. We've seen that, for example, in the clean cooking space, there are a number of new technologies, Internet of Things enabled technologies that are being utilized. We've heard about some of them today, and we're seeing this going forwards in our portfolio, not only to harness the carbon markets, but also some very interesting financial innovations in the same way that you can upfront capital on the basis of future receivables. You could do that also with carbon finance. So there's a lot of reasons to take that forward. You want to add something else?
There's another reason. And I mean, we're talking now about cooking, maybe small-scale cooking. But if you look at the entire energy system and all the different appliances and all the different end users, and if you can contribute to the system flexibility, I think that's extremely important for the future. It's not often something that the bottom of the pyramid customer is interested to do intentionally, but maybe they do it anyway. And if you can use digital information to optimize demand or dim sometimes the loads in the system, I think that's instrumental for the future.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, I think we've covered the sort of questions I wanted to ask. Just want to reach out to the audience. If you could add your voice to the conversation that we have here. Are there any questions? I'm tempted to say burning questions, but that would be terrible. But are there any questions that you have? You have someone who's representing the ecosystem. You've got a very active private sector player. You've got a donor. You've got a fund manager. So if you have any questions, please don't be shy. Or observations. Harry, maybe you could.
Simple question, Donnie, where can we go to
No, they can't hear you
access all of that good work you've done in terms of if we have a new methodology we're writing, where can we go to access all of your work?
Yeah, Harry, thank you for that question. So we have been emailing out all of the partners who have wanted or expressed interest and been providing updates. We've also have updates on our website on that. So if this is anything that anybody's interested in, we're finalizing the draft methodology that really looks to kind of take any transition scenario, and whether it be digital or not, and work for any scenario. So if there are comments, reach out to climate@cleancooking.org or my email, and we can get you all the information that we've produced so far.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. If you could introduce yourself as well.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm Elisa Puzzolo from the University of Liverpool, a public health researcher working in Kenya with the Kenya Medical Research Institute, and the co-director for the Cleaner Africa Global Health Research Unit. So my question is directed to our friend here from Kenya. Something we have observed over the years in public health research is the issues of fuel stacking, which means that people use multiple fuels and technologies for their cooking needs. And also is linked to what Donnie was saying, that sometimes in the carbon markets there was an underestimation of the simultaneous use of multiple fuels and technologies. So how is KOKO addressing this problem? I visited Mukuru some months ago. Mukuru is an informal settlement in Nairobi, where I witnessed the use of these different technologies with the KOKO stove and still charcoal around and an LPG. This lady had all of the three in her house. Are you managing to monitor also these adoptions of these polluting fuels as part of your model? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. As you've rightly said, fuel stacking is it's part of the norm. It's par norm. Households will not necessarily trust that all the fuels will be available. Yeah, given that our solution is very new, one of the questions we faced, even right at the beginning, was, are you going to be around for the next few years? Because they had instances where they're given cook stoves and the fuel is not available. So it does take quite a bit of time to build the trust, yeah? And it's not, I mean, we've only been around for 4 years, yeah? The good thing is they see us there every day. The KOKO points are installed in places where, and the people they're talking to are people they trust, yeah? So they need to see the fuel availability at any time that they need, yeah? And that takes time, yeah? That is one. The second aspect is cultural. Yeah, you realize that people have different beliefs on certain foods need to be cooked on certain fuels. That is not something that you can overcome by saying my fuel is cleaner. As much as, yes, they do understand the effect charcoal has on them, they will say for us, my staple, yeah, if it's maize meal or whatever grains, I need to cook them on charcoal. So it's a transition. So we are walking the journey. We are working with the government. The government has put in place a communication strategy because they need to roll it out. They need to actually go to these households, educate them on the impact and the need to transition, the effect that the use of biomass is having on the environment. And also, I mean, they do know the effect it has on their health, but they seem willing to forego. So part of it is just about building trust. And the last one is we need to get the bioethanol as affordable as we can. Even at 50 US cents, we believe it can go lower. That is part of the conversation we're having with government. We need to encourage them to put in place policies to motivate for investors to come in and put up large-scale facilities. Once that happens, then you have affordable ethanol available throughout. It doesn't have to vary depending on whether you are importing or whatever taxes are being put in place. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments from the panel? No? Any further questions from the audience?
I think the time's up.
I think, is that people banging to get in? I'm not sure. No, I think they want us to leave. Okay. Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll just wrap things up a bit. Thank you all the panelists for your comments. Our colleague from Norad has left, but thank you also to Norad for their contribution, which is announced today, so that we can reach more companies, support more companies, and reach more beneficiaries for the higher tier clean cooking solutions. I think today we've learned a lot around what needs to happen if we want to realize our ambitions. We've learned about the role of technology, the role of digitization in particular, the important role that carbon finance plays. We've also learned about the need for behavioral change and to support that change in communities. But we also, I believe, have learned that this is only really going to happen if we can support and de-risk private sector companies. And that's the whole ethos of the Modern Cooking Facility for Africa, which is why we work very closely with companies. It's good to see one of our beneficiaries in the audience there, Peter Scott from Bern. So we're looking to roll out more of these agreements with companies to support them to take forward their mission so that we can realize our mission. One thing I would say is that we do have a new call open right now. We're now working in 7 countries. So do take a look at our website. It's moderncooking.africa. So do take a look at that. And a couple of new innovations we've introduced. We're all about scaling up, but we've also recognized that there are some companies, some private sector actors who've not been able to participate in this call, particularly smaller companies which don't have the wherewithal but still have ambitions to scale. So we've differentiated our offer. We have now a catalytic and a scale-up window. So we'd love you to take a look at the call. It's open until the end of January. So plenty of time for you all to spread the word. Right, well, I think our time is up. I'd like to thank all the speakers for their contributions. Thank you once again to Norway, to the Nordic Council of Ministers for hosting us, and to you for your attention and your contributions. I wish you all the best for COP28. Thank you so much.